Greetings, friends. I'm Pastor Chester Hitchcock, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing some points about biblical marriage. What really is true biblical marriage? But before we get started, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, and be sure to choose all so that you can get a notification the next time that I produce a video. Let's get started. The claim to support only biblical marriage is a claim that many Christians make, but I wonder how many of them really know the different kinds of marriage that the Bible actually supports. In fact, many Christians have never read the Bible from cover to cover, and they aren't familiar with the things that are actually there, but rather they believe that which they have been taught by others or what they have read that was written by someone else. Many who watch my videos have never read the Bible. Some believe what I say because they like what I say, and likewise others don't like what I say, simply not because they've read the Bible for themselves necessarily, but because I say things sometimes that they've never heard before. So before you agree or disagree with what I say in this video, please take the time to look up the passages that I share and check them out for yourself and see if what I am saying is true. Marriage in American culture is traditionally seen as between one man and one woman who fell in love and dated, or as they used to say, courted for a period of time, and because of their love for one another, took mutual vows of matrimony. Mutual in that both agreed on the marriage vows based on their love and their commitment. Believe it or not, this alone is a far cry from any recorded biblical marriage. Ironically, some of the big-name couples in the Bible, such as Adam and Eve and Isaac and Rebekah and Abraham and Sarah, though they were referred to as husband and wife, there is no mention of their wedding. Now, that could be for a couple of reasons. First of all, it could be that it's because the Bible doesn't give every detail about things. It's not a full history account. It's not full biographies of each person that is there. But second, it could be that the actual practice of a wedding ceremony hadn't developed yet. At that time, the Bible seems to describe marriage as a man going out to find a woman, and when he finds one that he wants, he purchases her from her father and takes her home as his wife, transaction complete, marriage over and done. Rarely was a woman ever consulted or had a voice in the transaction. This alone should give us pause about claiming to support only biblical marriage. Furthermore, many of the patriarchs practiced polygamy. Joseph Smith, who was born in 1805 and died in 1844 and was the founder of Mormonism, the Latter-day Saints, used the Bible to justify polygamy among Mormons for the sake of growing their religious group. After all, Jacob fathered 12 sons whose descendants made up the 12 tribes of Israel, but those 12 sons came from 4 women. 2 of those women were wives simultaneously, and 2 of them were his wives' slaves. Therefore, biblical marriage in this case and in others was polygamy, one man with multiple wives or women. One of the strangest forms of biblical marriage was a rapist being required to marry a woman that he rapes. In Bible times, a woman's worth was based upon 2 things. Number 1, her sexual purity, and number 2, her ability to produce sons. Now, of course, in those days, they didn't have our medical knowledge that we have today that shows that babies' genders are determined more by the man than by the woman, which is an example of how science helps us understand God and mankind better than those in Bible times could. But as for this type of biblical marriage, Deuteronomy 22, verses 28 and 29 gives us the evidence. It says this, quote, "If a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her, and they are discovered," verse 29, "he shall pay her father 50 shekels of silver. He must marry the young woman, for he has violated her. He can never divorce her as long as he lives." Another example of biblical marriage is found in passages such as Joshua chapter 15 verse 16 and 2 Chronicles chapter 18 verse 1, where daughters were actually given as a reward for a success in battle or as an alliance between two groups of people. In passages such as Ezra chapter 9 verse 12 and Nehemiah chapter 10 verse 30, we find that biblical marriage was only to be between two people of the same nationality. Jewish men were not allowed to marry non-Jewish women, and vice versa. This led to many Christians believing that interracial marriages were against God, and caused many Christians to support legislation making interracial marriage illegal in the United States up until 1965. It seems ironic that Christians would take such a stand to legislate this view when Jesus' own lineage in Matthew chapter 1 records at least 2 women who were not of Jewish descent. Another example of why religious beliefs, even that of Christianity, should not determine political or legal rules and regulations. Then there is the Levirate marriage. This is the rule that when a man dies without having a son to carry on his name, it was his brother's duty to marry or at least have sex with the widow and have a son by her for him, no matter how many children it took to get that son. This biblical form of marriage would probably not be supported by those who claim to support biblical marriage today. Of course, many Christians would argue that when they speak about biblical marriage, they are referring to the New Testament, not the Old Testament. Well, first, if that's true, they should make that clear. But second, before jumping to just clarify which part of the Bible they mean when they say biblical, consider these points. In Matthew chapter 22, verses 22 through 33, and Mark chapter 12, verses 18 through 27, Jesus is asked a question about the Levirate marriage. Not based on morality, mind you, but based on the resurrection which the Sadducees didn't believe in. They proposed a scenario of a woman being married to 7 different brothers and asking whose wife will she be in the resurrection. To begin with, this demonstrates that during the New Testament era, this biblical marriage type was still practiced, and there is no New Testament directive for it to end. In fact, this was the perfect opportunity for Jesus to say, as he said in so many other places, something like, Moses said that you must marry your brother's widow, but I tell you, you must stop this form of marriage. Instead, Jesus doesn't do away with this marriage practice, nor even disparage it, but rather he just spoke regarding the resurrection and left it at that. Also, many Christians turn to Paul's words to Timothy and Titus in regards to elders and deacons being the husband of only one wife. What they neglect to realize is that in these passages, elders and deacons are to be the husband of only one wife. However, nowhere does Scripture, including the New Testament, explicitly require all Christian men to be the husband of only one wife, just elders and deacons. And Paul gave this instruction in the letters to Timothy and Titus because it was customary in those days for a man to have more than one wife. Let me be clear. I am not advocating for polygamy. I am simply demonstrating that before you accept what some people say the Bible clearly teaches, like marriages between one man and one woman, or that we should only support biblical marriage, check it out. Chances are, those who seem to want to legislate what can and cannot be done among consenting adults probably don't know as much about the Bible as they claim. Christians who truly read the Bible and seek to uphold its teachings are generally not the ones who are trying to legislate their opinions upon others, but rather they are the ones who advocate for equal and fair treatment of others regardless of whether they share their beliefs or not. So if this video has been helpful to you, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, be sure to hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and choose all so that you can get a notification the next time a video is produced. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.